Is that team with 3 losses in over Notre Dame with 2 losses?
This feels like a Fernando Mendoza Heisman campaign.
They're going to be crunk, as the kids say.
We're going to have to bring everything in our power, right, to be able to sustain him.
Full camo, like full camo.
Oh, that's bad for Carson Beck.
They did not profile like a 10-win team. They profiled like 7-win type teams. I can't wait to let 18 to 22-year-olds emotionally ruin me.
I made a call, to Vegas. I said, look, we actually need the favorite here.
What's going on, everyone? Bear Bets back again this week on The Bear, along with Sammy P and Geoff Schwartz, as always. And now is the time of the year where we always like to speculate college football playoff construction, how many conferences are going to get how many bids, etc. And it's looking like the SEC probably, Geoff, is going to be the conference that gets the highest number of teams.
People are going to hate it, Bear.
Of course.
The math works out to whereas the SEC probably with 5 when you look around the rest of the landscape of college football. The Big Ten, unfortunately, with Penn State's demise, essentially only is going to have 3 teams in. And USC lost last week and Washington lost, so they're probably out of it now. And you look at the ACC, maybe 2, Sammy, I don't know, Big 12. One, it does feel like the SEC with how good they play at the top of the conference. And they all do sort of play each other here down the stretch. We'll see if that ends up happening. But a 3-loss SEC team is probably in as of right now.
There's the math right there on the screen. If you want to bet over 3.5 SEC teams, you got to lay 330 to win 100, Bear.
I'll do it.
I think the best bet on the board, though, is the ACC. The math is cheaper. It's minus 190. They're getting 2. Yes. I mean, between Georgia Tech, Virginia, Miami, maybe SMU, we'll see how the cookie crumbles. I'd be stunned if they didn't get 2. And at minus 190, I think that's a good bet.
That's what people, I think, people are going to roll their eyes and shake their heads and be like, how is that possible? Miami's loss, while obviously hurts me for Canes losing, it kind of helps the conference because Miami is going to lose out on basically every tiebreaker to get to the ACC championship game, which means if Miami wins out, they're 11-1 sitting at home ACC championship Saturday. And you maybe have this round robin of Georgia Tech versus Virginia versus Louisville in the ACC champion or SMU in the ACC championship game. So you get the winner of the conference and Miami. And there's this crazy scenario. And we talked about it a little bit earlier in the week where what happens if, say, Georgia Tech wins out and beats Georgia, Virginia wins the league, and Miami wins out? Like, Miami has the win over Notre Dame, Georgia Tech has the win over Georgia, Virginia, or Louisville go as the AQ. Like, you can make an argument or a case that they would deserve 3 in that instance, which is ridiculous to think.
The 12-team playoff, I wasn't against it, but I didn't think we needed it. But then this year we need a 12-team playoff, it feels like, right? Like this is the year we've had out of all the years we've had the last 10, 12, where it does feel like it is so wide open to your scenario where 3 SEC teams are in. It doesn't feel wrong if 3 of them are in. It won't feel wrong if 5 SEC teams make it. It won't feel maybe a little bit wrong if 2 Big 12 teams make it. Now we have that big wager. I did the same as you, under 1.5 Big 12 teams in the postseason. And the Big 10 is looking at 3 right now. I mean, Indiana and Ohio State are on an express path to meet each other in Indianapolis. Oregon's not losing out. So you have 3 there, 5. I mean, it just makes a lot of sense. The question, obviously, right now is who becomes a group of 5 team, which we'll discuss in a little bit. But it does feel like the math is very clear. 5 SEC teams, whether you like it or not, they are at the top, the best conference in all of football.
5 is asking a lot, I think, Sammy, because you have to factor in Notre Dame as well. The Irish are going to be sitting there 10-2 at the end of the year, more than likely. And they got the close loss to Miami in the season opener, the loss against A&M at home with the non-penalty call. Like, Notre Dame still factors into this, Sammy.
Shout out to the social team. People were not happy online about our Notre Dame conversation when we said they were a top 3-4 power-rated team. People did not like that one bit.
See, and that's the thing. They can't grasp they see 2 losses and they think, oh, it's impossible.
Sure.
And top 3, some people have them 2, 4. Like, they're a top, I think, you ask every odds maker power rating component out there, they're like a top 8 team right now.
I've heard 2nd, 3rd, and 4th all week.
It feels unlikely for this to happen, but what if the SEC champion obviously is in, the loser of that game has 3 losses? Is that team with 3 losses in over Notre Dame with 2 losses?
Depends who it is. Depends how big the brand is.
Depends how big it is. Depends how close that game is. But yeah, I think 5's asking a lot. I think we're running at 4 SEC, 3 Big Ten, 2 ACC, one Big 12, a group of 5, and Notre Dame. I think that's how we're going to get that 12-team makeup right now and let the fun and games begin. We'll be back with Memphis head coach Ryan Silverfield after this. Back here on Bear Bets, joining us here, head coach of the Memphis Tigers, Ryan Silverfield. Massive matchup in the AAC this week against South Florida. Winner maybe with the inside track to that college football playoff berth. So, Coach, I don't want to harp on last week, but I feel it's something that in this sport you hear about kids and emotions, look-ahead spots, sandwich games, and you see UAB going through a coaching change, and you're a big favorite, and you've got that big home game the following week against South Florida. Is that something that we just kind of use as hyperbole, or is there something there where it really is difficult at times to get these kids to go one game at a time, even though, as you as coaches always say, one game at a time, 1-0 every week?
Yeah, we absolutely say it, right? Every coach in the country uses that example. But ultimately for us, I think that we had a great week of practice leading up to it. I think the guys were bought in and truly, did it the right way with great focus on the task at hand. And ultimately, we didn't go out there and execute at a high enough level. But I don't think I had anything leading up to it. We weren't thinking ahead. I think you put too much preparation, too much work in the week to focus on playing a Saturday. In any given week, we're seeing what some of these teams have done with interim head coaches, right? Whether it's UCLA, some of these other schools, right? They bring in an interim and usually they're playing really hard for a few weeks. And there's a lot of unknowns. I mean, literally, I was watching film of the quarterback from high school on my phone in the locker room pregame. We found out they were having a change there. So ultimately, no excuses, no explanations. We didn't handle our business and led to our first loss.
Speaking of a quarterback play, you do have an injury at quarterback. How do you prepare in a week for a game like this when you're sort of trying to figure out which quarterback you have healthy?
Yeah, Jeff, we're fortunate. We got 3 quarterbacks that have played in games so far this year that we feel comfortable with. They can go out there and play at a high level. I think you get a feel, okay, hey, if the starter's not playing up to the performance or he can't go well enough at practice, then we got to go with one of the other 2. And ultimately, whether it's Arrington Maiden or AJ Hill, we feel very, very comfortable with both of those young quarterbacks, right? One of them just turned 18, the other just turned 19. One's a true freshman, the other is a redshirt freshman. Obviously, Brennan Lewis, who had been the starter, has had a lot of success. But, if he's injured, what you do is you look at it, how the week goes during practice. If he can't go at all or at a high enough level to where it may, hurt your chances, then ultimately you got to go with another hand.
Coach, off the loss, now you're a dog. If that doesn't work for motivation, nothing will, huh? This is a great spot to get the boys ready to go.
Yeah, look, this is a great opportunity. It's the next opponent, right? To use the coach speak, right? We're just trying to go 1-0 this week. We know how important every game is. I think the world of this conference, the American, there's some great competition. I think we're seeing that now as the season goes on. Every team, Navy's still playing at a really high level. Tulane, obviously South Florida, East Carolina's had some really close ones on any given week. Any team is capable. And so ultimately, this is the next challenge ahead of us. This is a huge one. I'm glad that they're still nationally ranked and look forward to this opportunity.
What makes playing South Florida and Alex Golish's offense so tough? Because they really have, outside of the Miami game where they fell behind and the Miami kind of defensively one of the better teams in the country, not many teams have really slowed them down this year. I know the Florida game was a little bit of a mess, but they've been pretty efficient so far. What is about Golish's offense that makes them so difficult to slow down?
Well, one, they've done a good job of taking care of the football, right? They're first in the conference in turnover margin, so let's start there. And then ultimately, they're one of the fastest tempos in college football. And so can you handle the tempo? Can you get lined up as a defense, make the calls, and then go out there and execute at a high level? We understand they're very explosive, right? They've averaged 57 points over the last 4 games. But ultimately, can we get lined up? Can we stop the explosive? They're going to take shots down the field throughout the game. And then their quarterback, it starts and ends with him, right? There's times where there's designed quarterback runs. And then there's also times where, right, it's 3rd and 8. He just pulls the ball down. Next thing you know, he's down the field for 20 yards. He's 6'3 plus, 235 pounds, and runs a 4.4 something. And so he's been in that system for a while. He understands how to operate at a high level. We're going to have to bring everything in our power, right, to be able to sustain him. We know there's going to be a play made here or there, but ultimately we can't allow that to dictate the game.
How do you prepare in practice for a team that does tempo? We hear a lot about teams that play fast like that. what do you do at practice to get ready? Because you can't just like run more wind sprints in week 8 of practice.
Yeah, right. Especially this far in the season, it's not about just going out there. And we are not a tempo offense. So ultimately, the scout team's got to give a good look. We've done a variety of different things. We even do some crossover where I'll take, 5 offensive linemen, the 5 starters, I'll take the 5 backups, and we'll line 2 huddles and just rapid fire getting them ready for that. And then we do some tempo, right? Hey, can we go 5 good plays? But ultimately, it's really hard to meet and match, right? Some of these times they're sustaining drives more so than they have in the past. So, Geoff, ultimately, right, how do you prepare? You got to get it. And, you do some things where you have the defense turn around, flip around, quick see the formation, get the call, get their cleats in the ground. And then, oh, by the way, you got to go versus a team that's got a lot of athletes line up and find a way to tackle them as well.
Coach, you're 27-6 over the last 3 years. You've been Arkansas, Iowa State, Florida State, West Virginia as well. What makes your program so ready to execute and win these games?
Well, look, we love the challenge, right? Ultimately, like I mentioned earlier, I think this conference is a great one. So we love being able to play Power 4 teams, right? We love being able to play on a national stage versus these teams that are ranked, that are considered blue bloods. And for us, it's the opportunity to come out swinging. Like, we want to play anybody. We are always looking to play the bigger name opponents, if you will. We want those type of games. We've made calls around the country begging teams in the SEC to play us, ultimately because I think it's a great test to what we're able to do here. And I think it's a testament also to what we've been able to build this program. You talk about that. We beat Mississippi State a few years prior to that. Like, just what can we do year in and year out to continue to put this program at a national level? And, credit to the administration, credit to the coaches and all the players, because we're not backing down from anybody. And the more we can play those type of teams, the better. And our guys have done a great job of facing those opponents and saying, okay, give us your best shot because we're giving you ours.
Well, Memphis obviously got a chance to play one of those big boys in the college football playoff, the New Year's Six a few years ago. And I alluded to it earlier. It does look like the winner of the American is going to be the Group of 5, Group of 6 representative in the playoff this year. You've alluded to the conference and its depth. Like, kind of state your campaign. What is it about the top of the AAC and even the middle of the AAC that people really don't realize? You always hear about, the depth of the SEC or the top of this league, top of that league. But the American, the top 4 or 5 teams in that league really have done quite well this week, and certainly against some of the bigger boys like you guys did with Arkansas early this year.
Yeah, well, I think it starts with that, right? Again, I sing the praises of this conference. This is my 10th year here at Memphis, and I've seen how good this conference is. And then you see what other teams do. And I certainly don't want to toot other teams in our conference's horn, but like South Florida, what they did to Boise State, right? What they did to Florida, what Tulane did to Northwestern and Duke. I mean, so ultimately you look at Army on the road versus Kansas State. And so you sit there, it's very hard to sit here, in my opinion, to argue against this conference certainly being the best non-Power 4 conference out there. It certainly is. And you look at the coaches that are coming through here, the style of play, and ultimately, the winner of this conference will go to the playoffs. But ultimately, like we all talk about, it's the goal is to get to the conference championship and win that, and then ultimately that's up to the decision makers to decide that.
When you hear 18-team playoff, 24-team playoff, 36-team playoff, I think we all cringe on the inside. I'll speak for myself. But when you hear 18-24, what's your reaction to that?
Look, there's so many different things that are occurring, right? Whether it's transfer portal rules, or we allowed to bet on sports. I mean, it's all the different things. I certainly during the season, the capacity to even consider that stuff, let it be, because ultimately, I don't think anybody's going to knock on my door and say, "Hey, Ryan Silverfield, what's your opinion?" And we're going to go with that, because I can promise you, ask all 136 Division I coaches, it doesn't matter, right? Ultimately, I like where it's at right now. I truly do. It's like when people say, should the NCAA basketball tournament go to 120 teams? I'm a traditionalist, right? And
I knew I liked you.
Bear wants more games to bet on, Coach. That's all. He just wants more games.
No.
Well, yeah, that's not my thought on the whole thing. That's cool. But ultimately, look, I'm a traditionalist. I like it being at 12 teams. And I like the fact that I can go into a home of a recruit and say, listen, if we win our conference, we legitimately have a chance to go to the college football playoffs every single year. And we know there's teams in college football that the head coach really can't say that. So I think this is a great spot.
All right, now that we've done all this, let's get to the real meat and potatoes here. Unbalanced pin pull concepts, Coach. What are we calling them? What are we doing? Let's get to the real important stuff.
Let me get my pen and paper out here.
That's right. So this podcast has now turned into a 6 hour and 37 minute. All right, I've got my illustrations. I'll pull up behind me and let's rock and roll. So yeah, we could talk scheme all day long, Geoff, for sure.
One thing though on that, like I think people in the past always you heard of Memphis. When you think Memphis, you think like high-powered offense and some of the skill players. And Coach Norvell always preached special teams to get his players into the league. What's one thing about your team that maybe the general public doesn't know, or one area that maybe things have changed in a different or a better direction in the last couple of years?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think everybody sits there and looks back, and Coach Norvell and I have a tremendous relationship. I was certainly, hopefully I had a little bit of part of the success there, for 4 years. Yeah. And so ultimately, right, you talked about the Cotton Bowl game, right? That was my first game as the head coach, first Penn State, and we scored more points than any team did against Penn State in a 2-year history. And then over the years, we're at 45 plus games of scoring 20 points or more. And so the consecutive success every time they take the field and the efficiency of our offense, I think that's huge, because you always see these teams that go out there and score 60 points in a game, and the next week they go out and lay an egg and score 3. And so, we take quarterbacks from Brady White, the longtime starter, to Seth Hennigan, who we started as a 17-year-old, who went on to, right at the end of his career, win 10 games and 11 games and beat the Iowa States and beat the West Virginias and the Florida States. And then ultimately now we're taking a quarterback and Brendan Lewis, who I think won 5 games the last 3 years, and he wins his first 6 here. So ultimately, we're putting guys in the right position to have success. And I think what people also realize is we're a pretty darn gritty football team.
I'm sold.
I'm in.
We certainly appreciate you joining us, and wish you the best of luck, not only Saturday, but the rest of the season. Ryan Silverfield, Memphis head coach, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, bud.
Appreciate you guys having me on. Take care and go Tigers.
Thanks, Coach Silverfield, for joining us. Great conversation. You can catch more of it on YouTube, youtube.com/BearBetsPod. And Bear, he will, I don't want to anger Memphis fans, but I do feel like his name is being out there.
Should be out there.
Possibly big coaching carousel this year.
Couple of 10-win seasons in a row. They're in position to make be the group of 5 playoff rub again. How refreshing is it to be a coach? Like, all you hear is like coach speak from people from time to time. And he's like, well, I don't want to prop up anybody else in our conference. They're 12-24. I'm a traditionalist.
Nobody cares what I think.
Nobody cares what I think. Very refreshing to hear people talk like that.
Because he knows that he has a chance to be the group of 6 representative. And there are other choices, obviously, in the American. There may be an option in the Sun Belt, Bear. But as we look right now, we go down this list of group of 5 teams to be in a playoff. One has to be in, I think. No, actually, they're on the top 12. They don't have to be in, or they have to be in.
The highest ranked non-group of 4 team
is in.
Okay. Whether it's whomever. If you're 22, you're 27th, you're in. And
you're probably going to play Oregon, who's the 5 seed.
Yes, I was going. You'll be playing. Yeah, you'll be in that 12-5 game, like you.
For Oregon.
You don't want the home game against Memphis or South Florida.
I would love a home game in the playoffs in Eugene in mid-December.
That'd be nice.
On that. Yeah,
well, could be Oregon, could be someone else. Yeah, it feels to me like the winner of the game Saturday between Memphis and South Florida is going to be that team. And Coach talked about how difficult stopping Alex Golsh's offense has been. Ultimately, I do give South Florida a little bit of an edge over Memphis. I think if you look at the schedule with what USF has after that, they go to have UTSA at home. They should win. UAB should win. Rice. They got the game at Navy, but Navy's schedule is brutal.
It's bad.
I'd love to see, after talking to Coach, it's a guy I'm rooting for.
Yeah.
But I do think USF, even though they are the favorite, is probably the right team.
It's a huge game swing-wise for the odds, too, because USF plus 120, if they beat Memphis as a 4.5-point favorite, they're minus 120 or minus 130. So that will certainly change. On the flip side, if Memphis wins, plus 950 goes to 4-1, 5-1. I personally like Tulane at plus 350. They go 11-1. You have one loss. It was the Ole Miss. Not a great game, but not a bad loss, losing to an SEC team. So I would pick Tulane. Memphis 950 though is kind of interesting.
Doesn't a lot of it come down to schedule? You mentioned Bear. Navy's schedule puts them out.
Right.
Look at their schedule; they're out. Memphis does have South Florida, and they do host Tulane as well, and Navy. So they do have. Right. But they're all at home. Those 3 tough games at home. Tulane's schedule, man. If they beat Memphis, they're in. Right? It's UTSA, Memphis, FAU, Temple, and then Charlotte, who is atrocious. So I think schedule does matter. But look, Memphis, if they get Lewis back, hopefully this week, we don't know that as of right now. They're very liable to win any game at home, obviously. And they can get through South Florida. I think the best value right now is to take Memphis, assuming they win. Still some tough games left, but that number's going to drop pretty fast.
You know what the funny thing is? Earlier this year, I bet Memphis a plus 750 to make the playoff, and now you can get a better number now off of that loss.
If they win though, Bear, you're going to have a nice number compared to what it is now.
What about JMU? You mentioned them, Sammy, off air. No chance, right?
At 11-1, does the committee really put in JMU?
The problem for them is that South Florida and Memphis have been ranked already. Like, they're a known commodity, and if they continue to win, they're going to be ranked ahead of them. I mean, it's quite simply, right?
I just feel like a team like James Madison has to be 12-0 to make it. And maybe that's not fair, but I feel like that's how the committee feels.
I agree with you. You look at their schedule, they have the loss to at Louisville, which the final score was 28-14, but it was a closer game than that. But I think the overall strength of the American kind of puts that conference ahead of everyone else. Maybe JMU would be ranked higher than a Boise or whomever wins the Mountain West. But I do think we're looking at the winner of the AAC making the college football playoff.
All right, now time to preview the rest of the games for this week. And now it's time for Super 6, sponsored by DraftKings. Bear both have column out later this week, breaking down the Super 6 game, Indiana, UCLA. Maybe new home for Ryan Silverfield, UCLA Bruins.
It could be, depending on how he and the Tigers do the rest of the year. But yeah, it seems like he's going to be a candidate for a lot of these job openings, and rightly so with the success that he's had at Memphis. Doesn't this feel like a lay and laugh spot kind of though for Indiana? This is the type of game against the type of teams that IU just capitalizes and beats up on. Now, look, give UCLA a ton of credit for turning this season around the last couple of games. But we saw the offense struggle last week against Maryland. Now you're going against an Indiana team which wasn't as crisp as they normally would be. Against a team last week, the Michigan State game, they didn't get the cover. This feels like a Fernando Mendoza Heisman campaign, an Indiana campaign to potentially accrue more first place votes. This feels like a 42-10 type of game, unfortunately for me.
I would prefer if they just ran for about 600 yards and Simpson has a better chance than Mendoza at the end of the day.
I'll see what I can do. I'll try and sell Kurt Signetti on that for you.
Selfishly, by the way, these new big chips
I like them.
We have these new giant chips here.
They still look small in your hand, though.
They do. If we put the graphic back up, I can make sure to do. It's our first, I think, chip throw with the brand new chips. I am all in Indiana this weekend for some of the reasons that Bear mentioned, but also look, UCLA, great story, right? I love what they're doing, but their offense has actually gotten worse every week, right? Like, this is what happens. You get more film on a team, and the team just isn't as good. The success rate was over 50% against Penn State, down to 41% against Maryland. And teams are sort of figuring out what they're good at. Now you play an Indiana team who, look, the best thing Indiana does is they play their game, and they do it at such a high level. And I just don't think Nico in this situation is going to be able to attack the Indiana defense. And on top of that, right, you have the Indiana offense. Who's stopping them, Bear? Like, who on UCLA is going to do enough? And Bruins defense playing better again, but they have not played Indiana yet. This is a national TV game. Also, the early body clock game for West Coast team. I think Signetti makes sure his boys shot in this one.
You hit a point, because I was talking with another Big Ten coach earlier in the week about like these noon starts, these body clocks, and there's something there. Like with these California schools and the Washington schools coming. Look at Washington last week. Look at USC.
I went to Oregon Northwestern Illinois. Oregon half asleep.
There is something there, and maybe if you're not looking to lay 25.5 for the entire game, maybe you lay a first quarter, maybe you lay a first half. See IU get up, and then maybe back doors open. Who knows? But I do think that there definitely is something here with these early body clock games and the consensus. We like the Hoosiers this week.
Sticking with the Big Ten here, and then I could check out the show. It is Illinois and Washington, my conference of champions here. Look, I think I texted you guys first on Sunday that I liked Washington here in this spot. But the more I looked into this game, I don't know if I trust Washington. I don't love Illinois, but Washington really hasn't played as well since the non-conference slate, where they scored a bunch of points. They're averaging like 5.5 points to drive some insane number. They just haven't played as well as more teams have gotten film on them offensively. They haven't performed quite the same. If you keep Williams in the pocket, offensively, they're not as good. Boston's really good. Coleman hasn't been as good, but again, he's been better at home than on the road. Illinois is off a bye here. Washington's off a pretty tough loss, a bunch of turnovers. I think both defenses, I don't think I know, they're not very good. And I think this is a game where a lot of points are scored. It's supposed to rain in Seattle, no surprise.
Shocker.
But Sammy, I lean over more than anything else in this game.
I'm going to slide a little chip over there on Illinois. Take the points. The market has moved, Bear, from 5 to 3.5 in a couple places. I don't need to tell you that's not little old ladies betting $20. That's respected play to get it from 5 to 3.5.
Now, does that concern you? Because we saw a similar type move last week with Washington at Michigan, where we saw 6 to 4.5, that kind of move as well. And that didn't work out too well for the players. I agree with Geoff actually with how I would bet it. I think the over is probably the way to go, because Illinois' offense has been, outside of the Indiana game and Ohio State, which is the best defense in the country, they've been good. And Washington has allowed some points. I guess I'm a little conflicted because
because we hate Illinois.
Well, no, that's your words, not mine. I'm so invested already in Illinois under 8.5. And by the way, I was able to get off some of that. FanDuel had teams to win 9+ games. So Illinois was up there listed at plus 105 to win 9+ games. So figure if Illinois were to lose this week, the games they have coming up to end the season, there's a chance they could win out. And I was assuming that they were going to lose one of those games against USC or Duke. Didn't happen, so I might be holding a loser with 8.5. So I was able to get off of it at a little bit of plus money. My little Bear Bites note for this game: Illinois, third-ranked team in a Power 4 matchup this year to be a road dog of greater than a field goal against an unranked team. Virginia did win at Louisville earlier in the year. Arizona State was ranked, lost at Utah a couple weeks ago. You go back 15 times in the last 16 instances where you've had the unranked team favored by more than a field goal over the ranked team, they've emerged victorious. So take that little bit of information with what you see.
The way this is moving, though, they might not be a field goal favorite.
Say, it might come down even more.
Anyways.
We were talking a little earlier about playoff teams, and we all kind of agreed that the Big Ten was going to get 3. What happens if Illinois were to win out and be 10-2, but you really don't have a win? What happens if USC beats Oregon, wins out, and they're 10-2? Like, do they have a legitimate playoff type game?
Talk about things that aren't going to happen, Bear.
Wow.
I mean,
you heard it here, Judge and Jerry right here.
Well, does that mean is Oregon in the postseason at 10-2 though?
What if Oregon loses out?
That's possible.
Are they in the playoffs?
Start this weekend. We're going to lose actually 2-0. That's the final score against Wisconsin. We'll get to that game in a little bit. Look, I mean, USC can certainly beat Oregon. It's possible. It'd be the first time that Lincoln Riley team pushed anyone around in 4 years. But then
they did that against Michigan.
Then Oregon.
They pushed their Michigan around pretty good in the Coliseum.
Sure.
With the walk-on running back.
Yeah, but Bryce Underwood has not played as well on the road. And we'll see this weekend when they play Michigan State. USC could be in, I guess, but then Oregon probably wouldn't be in at 10-2. I don't think they're taking multiple 10-2 Big Ten teams, considering the way the SEC has played so far this season. That's just my take on it. So we're an SEC Bear. We have a lot of SEC games to get to. The first one, Ole Miss at Oklahoma. Oklahoma still laying 5.5, Sammy?
Yep, 5.5. A couple 6s showing offshore.
Really? Total 54.5.
Mm-hmm. 54.5. That's a little high. I see the market about 53 now. Again, all depends on when you listen, I guess, what the market is. John Mateer is getting healthier by the day, you would think, huh, Bear? We know Ole Miss can score. I don't trust their defense at all. I think Oklahoma, even though they haven't been great offensively, they can score on Ole Miss. So I think we get a nice little duet here with both teams scoring touchdowns.
The Ole Miss defense, to your point, has just not been as good the last couple of weeks, and maybe that's Georgia as well. But Oklahoma's offense, guys, I mean, they're 88th in yards per play, and they don't get any explosive plays. I don't really trust them either. Look, Ole Miss certainly not good to lose, but they look good offensively, way better than I thought they would. with Chambliss making his first road start last week, and we joked about it last week about that being such a big opportunity for them, and he passed it. But Barry, what's the deal with teams back-to-back road games in SEC? It's not going great this season.
Yeah, there was I think it was Zach Barnett, Sully, our producer, had shared that tweet with us earlier about teams playing consecutive road games, back-to-back road games in the SEC. Last year, I think it was 2-6. This year, 0-3. Now, full disclosure, I didn't see any context there as to whether that's like Mississippi State going on the road and playing, or Arkansas, or if it was like teams playing good, whatever. So I'd be careful with just using that as your handicap. I think this game ultimately comes down to how does Ole Miss bounce back from that loss last week? You didn't get stopped on a single drive first 3 quarters of the game. And then I think, with 13 yards in the fourth quarter against Georgia, if they can get up off the mat, off of an emotional loss in a game that they easily could have won, then I think they're going to score, because I think Oklahoma has issues on their back end defensively as well. I think they can allow some big plays. But what you were talking about, Sammy, like I wonder, or was you, Geoff, with the yards per play with Oklahoma, I wonder if that helps them kind of play that brand of complementary football where it's going to be longer drives. They're going to keep the Ole Miss offense off the field. Feels to me a little, I know you mentioned there were a couple of 6s out there now, baby. Feels to me though that Ole Miss might kind of be that underdog with fleas this week.
Again, back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
Dog with fleas.
Yeah. This game will not see any of my money.
Yeah, this was one of the lines early in the week. I wanted to kind of see where it went, and that might dictate if I'm going to get involved.
I take it back, as someone I fade is on Oklahoma, so that I will actually have money on this game.
Do we have a fade list yet?
It's out. I haven't copied it yet, but this is
we'll offline that.
Oklahoma is one of the games.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe
they, by the way.
Alabama.
We'll get that in a few minutes.
Now we're talking dogs we can play.
Money line.
So we'll get into all those games, those more games in a few minutes. I'll share the list with you guys as we go here.
Thank you.
Any more games on there? But I don't think Missouri and Vanderbilt's on this list here for the fades. I'll tell you what, man. Vanderbilt, for the longest time, they just couldn't do the one thing you had to do in these games, and they can do it now. They can block. They can block against anyone in the country. Their offensive line is giving them an opportunity to win these games they have not had before. It's very fun to watch. Now, is this the weekend to get on the train if you missed out on them? I don't know. But Missouri is back on the road again, right? They were at Auburn last weekend. Tough double overtime game, I believe, Sammy, in that game. I would be Vanderbilt or nothing here. Might be square. I just think Vanderbilt, the way they're playing right now at home, hard to go against them.
Their wins are against a list of teams that's a combined 17-26. Those are Vanderbilt's wins.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you add up the records of the teams that they've beaten, I had to look it up. 17-26. We're also hearing out of Vegas, Bear. You're going to love this. We talk about dogs with fleas. Mm-hmm. This is the public favorite.
Ooh.
It is morphing at multiple books, just under a field goal, not at a field goal.
I was just going to say.
Just under a field goal. All you got to do is win by 3.
I was just going to say, and I was waiting for the kicker on that and it hasn't hit 3.
Nope, it has not.
So in other words, Mr. Andrews and Mr. Murray and come on.
I like that he knows exactly who I'm talking about.
People listening know who we're talking about. Chris Andrews at South Point and John Murray at the Super Bowl. The people know. Yeah, it is interesting because the perception of Vandy you look back, Mississippi. We just talked about Ole Miss. Missouri. You go back to join the SEC against top 10 SEC teams, they're 1-17. So I guess it comes down to your perception as to whether Vanderbilt is legit top 10 team. But that number is striking because I think people are probably giving Vanderbilt a little bit more respect off of the loss at Alabama and how well they played in that game than they are maybe off of any other game that they played this year.
All right, I was writing these down. I have the list for you guys. We'll go over in a few minutes here. A&M at LSU, next game in the SEC here. The way you guys are going to speak later about your best bets, we've already, we know what those are going to be internally. You guys really like LSU in this one.
I love the spot. I love them at home. It's a night game. They're going to be crunk, as the kids say. Fair.
Do you still say that?
Crunk down there. Yes. Actually, they might not say crunk anymore. I'm taking. Look at that spin, baby.
We'll
That's
say-
a good sign right there. Give me the points.
I was going to say, I didn't want to. Now I'll try and land on top of you. And
If Brian Kelly doesn't win this game, Bear, is he gone?
he better beat Alabama off the auto week. That's for sure.
So this, like,
They tend to overreact a little bit down there. In case you haven't
I think
noticed.
so. This is the thing about this game to me is like A&M obviously wants to win, but LSU has to win this game. I think like it's just this is whatever they have left in the offense, they haven't run yet. Whatever trick plays they have, whatever motivation Brian Kelly hasn't done yet, he's waiting to use. It all has to be this week. They don't lose night games very often at LSU, all with Brian Kelly. And again, like this is all their season gets crushed. Everything, like they're still sort of in it, right? They still can be a playoff team, finish 10-2, still have a chance. This is a game they just cannot lose. And I'm not saying that's a great reason to wager on the game, but their offense was a tad better last weekend. It looked like it had a little bit of life. It was
Just red zone issues.
It was Vandy.
And the defense is still solid.
The defense is really, really good. So,
Even without Whit Weeks.
yeah. So, that story came out about his dating life, and he just hasn't been. He's been hurt ever
I was
since.
going to say injured ankles ever since, right?
Yeah.
Or leg, whatever it's been. Yeah, I look and I'm with Sammy. I concur. I like LSU in this game. And if you look at A&M's run, they have put up a bunch of points, but the only top 30 defense that they have played so far in terms of expected points is Auburn. And obviously, as you would expect, season low 16 points, season low total yards, season low yards per play. Now this week, you got another top 30 defense in LSU. You've got another top 30 defense next week in Missouri. We'll see. Again, this is more about, I think, the spot than a lot of X's and O's. So Dr. Bob, who a lot of people in the handicapping world are familiar with, always like, if it's a must win, that must mean you're not very good.
Well, it's certainly fair.
It's fair, but I think we're going to see the best effort from LSU this week. And again, if you go back, A&M did win the game in South Bend earlier this year, but prior to that, they'd lost like 13 or 14 straight road games against ranked opponents. They typically had not won those types of games. This will tell us whether A&M has truly turned the corner or not. But I like LSU.
If we're wrong, which is very possible, if you want to fade us, by all means, go for it. This would be, if A&M wins, you would think, a nice entry point on Marcel Reed for Heisman. If you don't agree with Bear and I, and you like A&M, they win this game, move to 8-0. You're going to hear about Marcel Reed all week next week.
Let's go to Heisman. I don't think they even played this week, but I watched Ohio State Wisconsin film. Julian Sain is like really good. Like now they might split like votes up there for Ohio State, but like I hadn't really watched him play like that quite yet.
Do you think the sports book would honor the 150-1 that I had on him last year? Do you think if he wins this year, I'll get the credit for the bet that I made last year?
Probably not.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. But you can brag about it on social media though.
Okay.
You can say we were a year too early on a bet you had, a prediction you had to make yourself feel better.
Well, thank you. Yes, appreciate that.
Well, hopefully, I don't think any of us had Arch Manning tickets to win the Heisman this year.
No.
Don't do it.
Speaking of don't do it, did you bet the no on the playoffs for Texas?
No, I have under 9.5.
Not under 9.5. Okay.
Which is going to be a sweat.
They're going to lose to Georgia. You're
okay.
You're okay.
Well, still a sweat.
Well, Texas is at Mississippi State.
Could lose this week.
They're favored by 7. Mississippi State, by the way, is on the fade list. The person is on Mississippi State. So just FYI.
Oh.
As we get to this game here.
So said person is on the dog?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Texas is better, obviously. It's just a matter of like, are they going to show up? Look.
That's all I need to say.
The thing about last week, though, and we talked about this heading into the Kentucky game, was that off the Red River shootout, Sark's Texas team never covered. Like that's just always a down spot for them. They won that game. Their defense is still good. I mean, do we buy a struggle again, back-to-back road game situation again? Do we buy that this weekend?
I don't think Texas's offensive line is very good.
It's not good.
Bad offensive lines on the road typically. Like Arch gets so much blame, and yeah, he hasn't been great. But at the same time, what was he, 11-27 or whatever it was last week? It's not all his fault if he doesn't have time to throw.
Yeah,
and the receivers aren't great.
Mississippi State just hasn't really. They played better teams the last 3 weeks. Just
Right.
haven't
And
played well.
How are
offensively,
they going to score?
That's yes.
That's where I'm at. How are they going to score against Texas?
The under is probably worth the look here. I mean, Mississippi State team total worth the look here. Because Texas defense is still very good.
I slid 3 chips. I wasn't planning on it, but here we are.
There we are. Going to add it to the list.
But that's what that's and a lot of people will point this out and talk about it like early in the week, like what do you like out there? Who do you like this week on social media or in the column? We'll have a couple of picks, and then come when we put out our contest picks later in the week or whatever, they're like games that weren't in the column or on the pod, and it's like but that's what happens during the week. You accumulate information,
yes.
and that's usually for me. Later in the week, let me multitask here.
Yeah.
Later in the week is usually when I kind of get a much better idea of who I like.
I have a huge call every Thursday after the show, and a lot of things get cleared up for me.
I mean, I think I texted you guys Sunday. I was like, I'm all over Washington. And the more I looked at the game, I'm like, I don't think so anymore. And I think I even liked Sunj originally this week. And I looked at Purdue. I was like, their backup quarterback's not much worse than the starter. I'm not taking Rutgers in this spot. So that's just the way sort of it works.
It's that old line from Two for the Money when McConaughey starts getting cocky and then he sends in Sunday's picks on Tuesday. And he goes, I can get you next week's picks by Thursday. Like, okay.
I might watch that one. I might watch
Oh,
again.
it's so
movie.
good because it's so bad. The movie.
Yes.
It's a classic. It's a gambling classic.
Yeah.
Watch it on your flight home.
I could if I gotta see if it's on the American Airlines app. I'll
download it from.
I'll
somewhere.
go to your lounge at Delta. I'll get the password for you. You download it there. I'll meet you at the lounge at
Delta
Newark.
100.
You got a Newark today?
No, I'm at a LaGuardia today.
Oh, so I guess we won't see each other.
Delta 100. They haven't changed it yet. It's been Delta 100 since like.
So American changes it like every month. It's kind of funny. I don't know why. It doesn't matter.
Probably from people like me who give it out over there.
There we go.
So if you're milling about outside the club in Atlanta or LaGuardia or wherever, just kind of hang out.
Newark though, the Delta Lounge is right over the pizza place I like. So maybe I can sit the pizza place, get on the Delta One Wi-Fi, and download the movie. There we go.
I'm going to a crooked poker game tonight.
Might be a few of those to be able to found in this area. Let me know.
Well, not anymore though. They were available. Yeah. They're not anymore.
Oh, I'm still going. No,
it's still going. Yeah. Don't take a rake. If you learn anything from Molly's game, don't take a rake. Come on, guys.
You going to the Chesterfield? A couple of stacks of high society?
I see nothing.
Don't take a rake. Alabama out South Carolina. I think we were on South Carolina last weekend, weren't we?
No.
We weren't.
No.
But they didn't cover against Oklahoma, right?
No, I think they're still looking for a first down or a third down conversion.
This does feel like a spot to maybe back them because of just Alabama's their 5th game after playing 4 really, really tough games.
Mm-hmm.
4 wins against currently ranked top 25 teams. Nobody else has 3, I don't believe.
No.
So it's Alabama on its own with 4 straight wins. Eventually, you have a game where you don't get every break to go your way, Bear. It's the do theory, I guess. People don't want to hear that. I had Tennessee. I've been betting on Alabama. And then I flipped on Alabama and took the points and had that 99-yard pick six right in my eyeball. I'm going back against Alabama. I think the number's a little too big. I think it should be like 10.
There were some 13s early in the week, I think, too, right? I think you're right. That play before the half totally flipped that game because you're looking at potentially 2 for 1. You get the ball to go in, you get the ball out of halftime, and maybe it's an entirely different game. I just wonder because can Kalen DeBoer sell his team on the just give me one more, then you get the week off before the LSU game. But it's getting ugly at South Carolina. It's all. No. I don't want to draw the parallel to like where it was last year going into the Alabama game, which they nearly pulled a massive upset at Bryant-Denny. But Mike Shula's taken a ton of heat. Shane Beamer has taken a ton of heat. That stadium emptied out, which is usually a great home field, emptied out pretty quickly. If I could find a 13, I'd feel a hell of a lot better. But I still think at 12.5, it would be South Carolina or pass for.
Well, some books are 11.5 now, so
I'm not going to get. I'm not going to get a 13.
It's so people perpetuate this Cocktober thing where South Carolina has a bunch of upsets and just never happens in October. Like they keep perpetuating this, and they've just not played well. It's interesting when you the sort of dynamic between how college football results are and then like draft NFL. Like Lenore Sellers is still looked at as a top pick in the draft. And when you watch him play on Saturdays, you would think there's just no chance. But the evaluation of NFL prospects is not really about what you do in your college game. It's what you can be in the NFL. And his skill set is of that where I'm holding a number one ticket on him. I mean, I hope he goes number one. It feels unlikely, but you look at the candidates right now, it's like Mendoza's not good enough, in my opinion, to go number one. Dante Moore's not coming out.
Right.
Like John Mateer, I don't know, like who it's not Klubnik anymore. It's not Nussmeier.
Aller, no.
No, he's just
Carson Beck, probably
correct.
no.
So he's just like there, like he's still there, and he's a guy that can go number one overall, and his team doesn't really score any points. That's just a weird college NFL dynamic.
I don't even know if he comes out this year. I think he'd be better served to. I mean, because in today's day and age,
Well, he'll portal somewhere, wouldn't
I was
he?
gonna say he'll portal somewhere
He'll
and
go
get
somewhere.
paid and hopefully build up his draft repertoire. Maybe in South Florida. Who knows?
Oh,
Bear showed his Miami check today.
They're gonna.
So it's
Look, I mean, it doesn't
very-
take
very-
doesn't take a brain surgeon. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night or wherever. Like Cam Ward, Carson Beck, they're going to be in the mix for Sellers or JKS or CJ Bailey.
Is JKS leaving the most foregone conclusion for the portal this cycle? I mean, I know Ron Rivera said they're going to keep him, but he is so talented,
Right.
And I just don't know if Cal can pay that much money to keep him.
I don't think they can. Like if Dante Moore would have left, it would have been pretty obvious for him to go back to Eugene.
Yeah,
I can't. I mean, it's Miami's got to be in the mix for one of those big portal guys. You just know it.
if you haven't watched him play yet, Friday nights is a chance. He can sling the rock. He also will have bad mistakes. He's a true freshman.
Yes.
I think all the focus is on Underwood and some other of the young players. He can really play. Bear, there'll be a tiny bit of attention on Wisconsin, Oregon.
Yes.
This game, by the way, did I mention this on Monday that I'm going to an event Saturday night and I have to watch this game on my phone.
Was this the school
Yeah,
function
yeah.
where your wife
keep-
scolds you already? That
Yeah,
you
and
did
I keep trying to like tell her like every day. I'm like, I'm watching football, and that do you really need me to go to this event? Do you really need me to go to this event? But I'm hopeful this game doesn't matter because Oregon's up so big, Bear.
Yeah, no, it will be. It's interesting because if you go back, we kind of joke like, will Wisconsin score? And your consensus seems to be, yes, they ultimately will.
I think they'll score at the end because we've
against the
given up
backups.
touchdowns to the end of games to when we had our third string.
Last 30 years, only one power conference team has been shut out 3 straight games. 2000 Baylor. So that's what you're up against this week, Coach Fickle.
I just think,
score a point.
the thing that I liked Oregon, as we joked about earlier in the week, I'm not laying it with Oregon. Now it's 31.5. It came down. Wisconsin defense is good. They can play defense. This game could easily be like 31-7, and just Oregon just wins the game and moves it along.
It is very funny to see a number 31.5 and a total at 43.5. It's very funny aesthetically to see that.
It is. You know what's always funny to see is the 7-0 team as a short underdog, like BYU is this week at Jack Trice Stadium. The interesting thing is BYU was in this exact same spot last year. They were 7-0, and they were a short dog at a UCF team with a losing record and wound up winning convincingly over UCF. I was out there last week. Can BYU keep this up? You've got the game now last week, another fourth quarter comeback, outgained by Utah. Utah has all those empty possessions because they said not to kick a field goal. They don't have the kicker. Who the hell knows what it was? You're down double digits with 5 minutes to go at Arizona. Fumble luck goes your way. A comeback win in the fourth quarter against Colorado. They and Georgia Tech are the two teams power ratings wise where like the polls and the power ratings have the biggest gap right now. Like every handicapping instinct in me says Iowa State has to be the play. But again, do I want to go back to the well and trying to beat the Cougs again, Sammy?
I like the under in the game, which I think you would like to hear because that would imply that I sort of lean toward Iowa State, right? Any underplay is predicated on Iowa State shutting off the BYU water. I don't want to fade BYU though, Jeff. I really don't. I think sometimes you accept the freight train and you don't want to lay in front of it. And that's where I'm at on the Cougs.
Yeah, I mean, it feels almost like too similar to Iowa State in this game because of things that Bear said, but that always worries me when it feels like too easy to take a side like this. But they're often a big emotional win. I mean, it matters to them. And Utah had their opportunities.
Right.
They had 3-4 downs they were stopped on. And now Utah has a quarterback hurt again for like the 100th time in
Imagine
a row.
that.
We'll talk about
The
Utah
ghost of
in a second.
Cam Rising.
I love Utah. My good friend went there. We did radio for 5 years together. I root for that team, but it is hard to root for them. I mean, they've now not played well in multiple big games in the last 3 or 4 years. And They didn't play well against BYU.
I know a team that's easy for you to root for, Geoff. Iowa.
I'm not talking about Iowa anymore.
Gronowski for Heisman.
He's better than Dante Moore.
I am proud of you, though. You said on Monday you weren't going to bet Iowa. I thought for sure you were going to get there and bet Iowa again.
8.5 doesn't it feel insane number?
It does feel high. It's interesting. I apologize to whoever on Twitter it was, but they tagged me in a note on Saturday or I think it was Sunday, and I don't have the follower's name, but thank you. The teams Iowa has beaten this year, including like the FCS teams, none of them have won a conference game this year. Anyway, obviously, the Big Ten or not anywhere. It's pretty amazing. This will be the first team.
Iowa might go 9-3. Like there's a chance they lose one more time this season. That's it.
Little birdie tells me I might be in Iowa City in a couple of weeks.
Oh, when we come to town?
Yes.
I'm gonna play an early kickoff again. It's brutal. I don't like that.
Huh? Maybe they go 10-2. Maybe Iowa is in the playoff mix.
I'll never watch football again.
Talk about a contrast of styles.
Speed
against
Oregon, Iowa, and we're both off a bye too. And we obviously didn't play very well off the bye against Indiana. I don't know how Minnesota's going to score in this game. I mean, Iowa could cover 20-10, right? I mean, that feels a very likely result of this game. I think neither offense. I mean, Gronowski's not throwing a touchdown, right? In like this last in conference play, I think.
Correct.
And he missed some time, of course, but
I think he has 7 rushing touchdowns and no passing touchdowns. I think it is.
That game last week. I know we all lose games. It's fine.
But you knew it going in when you bet Iowa. Know that
if they just didn't
attempt
that field goal, I would have covered that game. And it was so as maddening as it was. If Kurt Ferentz just follows what he is as a coach and punts that ball in that spot, they win that game by touchdown.
He doesn't attempt 50-yard field goals.
Correct. And and after the game, look, he owned it. He was almost tearful. He said, like, I apologize to my team in the locker room for the decision, and they played very well in the second half. But the fact is, like, even it's frustrating just to watch Iowa play football. If he just did the one thing he always does, which is punt the football, I would cover that game maybe even more than a touchdown. They're up 10-7 going to halftime. Penn State had done nothing. You get Penn State life all of a sudden. But Iowa at home just hasn't a lot of points. We'll get to that in a second.
If I'm out there in a couple of weeks, I'm going to get you one of those punt to win T-shirts.
Their offensive line, by the way, Iowa is playing well this year. Side notes as we get to.
I'm very bummed. By the way, I was hoping that Sunj Purdue would be on it. It's how unfair is it to the fans out there in Indiana when you got Indiana, UCLA, and Sunj Purdue kicking at the same time going on. I mean, you're asking college football fans to make a difficult decision here on what game you want to watch.
It's going to be tough. I'll try to survive and pick the right one there. That makes sense for me, Bear. The Iowa Oregon thing is now consuming my brain.
He's broken.
I got him.
Broken.
I broke him.
Why do we have to? I mean, look. The thing about playing
scared.
Obviously,
he's scared of Kinnick.
Yeah, I don't like. It's tough to play there anyways. It's better than night game, I guess, where they never seem to lose. But at least early, it's a little better. But it's a 9 a.m. kickoff. Like we've seen so far, the West Coast teams have struggled in those spots. So do you have any thoughts for Sunj Purdue, by the way?
No.
Okay, you just do it in there to
I just wanted to mock you.
That I might have a play in this game later on.
Correct.
All right, let's get to our 2-minute drill, though. Our favorite over-under of the week. Sammy, I'll let you go first.
Nebraska, Northwestern. Defense. That's what we get.
I think you're right.
They've been very good inside the red zone. Both defenses have shored up a lot of things. Northwestern has really been impressive on that side of the ball. 13-11 final, some weird number like 12-9.
Oh,
just
perfect.
some weird field goal safety.
17-12.
Yeah.
Red zone TD rate for Nebraska, they're 105th in the country. Ooh,
it's not good.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
And we've done this a couple times on this show with Northwestern. These totals have been in the high 40s. Now they're in the low 40s. I don't think they're low enough, Bear.
No, I might be telling you here on this play. I'm going to go with an under as well. I'm going to go Utah, Colorado under 50. Colorado has been much more competitive this year than I think a lot of people thought that they would be. There are questions about the status of Devin Dampier with the ankle injury. We saw that if he plays like he did against Texas Tech earlier this year, it's a major problem as his ability to run is limited. They don't have the game breaker on the outside to throw. I think the Utah defense obviously will do well against that Colorado offense. So if Dampier doesn't play, obviously back up, that hurts the Utah offense. So under 50, Colorado, Utah is my favorite total of the week.
This is good. You're going to get some CV on this one, Bear. Is that good or bad?
Perfect. Oh, I love CLV. Nothing like it.
I like Minnesota under 14.5 points at Iowa.
Back to Iowa.
Iowa plays good defense at home. It's like that simple. I just don't think Minnesota's going to score very much here in this game. Look, last week they got it. They scored a couple points against Nebraska. They were able to get home there. But I go back to the Big Ten there. Underdog, if you went outright, what do we got here?
Sorry, I thought you were looking at me. Go ahead, Sammy, please.
I can do whatever you want. I
No,
can
I want
do
you to go
the
first.
rocket to the moon where Toledo's headed. I hope. I mean, I need them to win to get over the win total.
Yeah.
So I think them being in this spot, though, it's a lot better than them. I'd rather bet them plus 1.5
Correct.
than lay 12 with
Easily,
them.
without a
Always.
doubt. People are going to be very high on Washington State. Went to the Grove, nearly won. Went to Virginia, played well. Oh, now they're back home against Toledo, who's lost games to crappy teams. Feels like a good spot here for you, Sammy. I co-sign your pick. Which I always hate when people do that, though. Good pick. I like your pick. I agree. I said I disagreed a couple of times, but I do like your pick here. NC State, my dog to win outright this week. I think Pitt's been beaten up on the bottom feeders of the ACC. Pitt over BC, Florida State, Syracuse. Wolfpack went into South Bend a couple of weeks ago, played reasonably well. It was a one-possession game in the third quarter. This team is the only team this year to beat Virginia. So they've got talent with CJ Bailey and that offense. So Wolfpack, not only plus 6.5, but nice $2 dog on the money line.
I liked Ole Miss to win until we talked about Ole Miss. Oklahoma. I feel
Talked it through.
I feel less inclined to do that now. But Ole Miss to win at Oklahoma, dog win outright. I do kind of like Purdue to win at home against Rutgers. I can't quit that
You
game
can't quit
there.
Rutgers or Iowa.
I can't quit that
Rutgers,
game there.
Iowa, Purdue.
I can't quit that.
Good
game there.
Lord.
Well, and I like that you say, because Iowa's got Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're like, well, I'm not going to bet the Iowa game. And then you just bet the Minnesota team total under. So you just can't.
Well, at least I can root for the one thing Iowa does well, play defense.
Right, but I thought you quit Iowa.
No, I quit betting them as a side.
Okay.
That's what I believe I
So
did.
you just bet the other team under the team
I
total.
did bet on the team under, yeah. So, all right, we'll get to our best bets in a second, guys. Stay tuned. All right, time for our best bets. And Bear, you thought I would last week I would curse your wagering, and actually you had another good week, Bear.
He tried to mush you.
You did try. I'm mad at myself because I came down. I'm like, do I take UAB? Don't tell Coach Silverfield that. Or do I take Utah? And I took Utah. Still went 5-2 though. We're fourth now.
Oh,
See,
now
he's bragging. Now he's bragging.
No,
Now he's
Bear.
bragging.
I'm
fourth in the
no.
contest.
But yeah,
contest.
I just whammied myself on for sure.
I would
but
take fourth in the contest, Bear. It's
I'll
okay.
take it if I can just avoid the 2-5. Make if 3-4 is like the worst week I can do. Then I'm going to be where I need to.
We
be. So
believe in you.
we
Bear.
believe in you,
hopefully we can keep the streak going. And a couple of games this week. Didn't like the board at first, but did a little digging. I came up with NC State is my best bet of the week. I think the Wolfpack with CJ Bailey, the quarterback, he's a pretty good player. A couple of weeks ago, that game against NC State was not like the game against Notre Dame. They were in that game until turnovers turned that game late. So I like the Wolfpack against Pitt, who kind of beaten up on the bottom of the ACC lately. I think that's too many points. I think the Pack have a chance at the outright upset. LSU getting 2.5 at home against A&M. Prior to that win at Notre Dame earlier in the year, A&M was a team that struggled mightily against ranked teams on the road. Best defense A&M's played this year has been Auburn. Now they're playing another really good defense in LSU. So we'll see, even without weeks, we'll see if they can get the home upset. Wake Forest getting 3 against SMU. Demon Deacons very easily could have one loss here. Georgia Tech, the offsides call that wasn't called, cost the Deacs victory formation there. So give me the 3 with Wake Forest against SMU. I laid the 30 with Miami here. Call it alumni, homerism, whatever. This feels like a spot. Stanford probably a backup quarterback. Other injuries there. Probably just a lot of running. Carson Beckett's right here. This feels like a 42-10 type of game. And then last one I added there was Virginia Tech Friday night game. laying 5.5 against Cal at Lane Stadium. Cal was very fortunate to win last week against a bad North Carolina team. Still a team that went on the road early this year, lost 34-0 against San Diego State. They're very capable of laying an egg, and I think there's one of 2 games left on the schedule that Virginia Tech can win. So let's 5.5 with the Hokies.
Cal's a weird team, man.
The quarterback is Jekyll and Hyde.
Well, he's a
he looks
freshman.
unbelievable, and then he looks like a true freshman.
How do you feel about the Miami uniforms this week, Bear?
You
laying 30.
I love our country, but I'm not a fan of the uniforms.
You seen them yet, Sammy?
I've not seen them.
They're full
camo.
They're full camo, like full camo.
Oh, that's bad for Carson Beck. That's not good.
Really? I thought about it, believe me. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you know what they always say, Bear? Every time Toledo loses as a double-digit favorite, an angel earns its wings. Well, luckily they're catching points at the Palouse. I took the 1.5. This was too early in the week. I love Candle as a dog, and I also need them to win out so we can all cash our season win total over that I get texts about every time Toledo loses. I'm going to take the points for South Carolina. 12.5 is a big number. Alabama's been through the ringer, 4 straight wins against top 25 teams. Yeah. And now you take on sleepy South Carolina. I think it's a good spot and a better number. So I took 12.5. I like to see you on LSU. Nobody wants to bet them. Everybody's writing them off.
Perfect.
It's a night game in LSU and we get points.
I think they've won like 20 of the last 21 night games. LSU.
Come on.
Tough spot to be, yeah.
And then I've also been, if you've watched the show and followed the show, this Northwestern under has been very nice.
19-0 last week.
They can't score, and they're good in the red zone on defense. Also, Nebraska's very good on D.
Part of it, too, is they actually run the ball pretty well at Northwestern. And so that just eats the clock up. Like, they're totally fine with here's, by the way, here's the Miami uniforms if you've not seen them yet.
Those are horrendous.
Yeah. So.
Not good. I'm thinking like a 13-10 final. That's very possible in Northwestern Nebraska.
I'm going to tell you on that one. I'm with you there. All right. I will go with, as I mentioned, Indiana earlier in the show. I just like the spot for Indiana here. UCLA, great story. This is not Penn State, Michigan State, and Maryland. This is an Indiana team that will continue to score points late in games, as we know. I like the over in Illinois and Washington. You have a situation where both defenses, I don't think are very good. Both offenses score. Washington also a much different team at home than on the road. They do have some injuries on the offensive line that do concern me a little bit. But I think that if you can get Williams going a little bit earlier in this game, Coleman, by the way, rushes better at home, which is odd. They played Ohio State, but it's 6 yards to 3.5 on the road. So the team just plays better at home. Lastly, Bear, I put Sunj in here.
Beautiful.
Look, Sunj scored 3 points on offense with their starters against Oregon. Purdue scored 0 against Northwestern last week. This is a bounce back spot where both defenses absolutely reek. And Rutgers offense has been fine until they played Oregon. They scored a bunch of points. They've passed the ball really well. They have 2 good wide receivers. And Purdue, they might be out their quarterback. Might not matter this weekend. They've scored points against Illinois, against USC. I think it's a bounce back weekend for both these offenses, Bears. So I got Sunj on my card this week for you.
Great. Greg Schiano's defense circles. No one gained 750 yards 2 games in a row on that Rutgers defense for sure.
The worst bet I've made all season.
A lot.
Looked up like Oregon's got 14 yards per play. Is that good? Yes, it's very good.
But you'd rather lose a game like that. You'd rather get beat bad and know that you have no shot at all. No?
I don't know.
You'd rather,
bad luck.
You'd rather lose.
Bad luck for the nerds.
You'd rather lose like Auburn style and be absolutely gut punched? Ooh, not me. I'd rather lose like that. Hopefully there aren't going to be a lot of losses to talk about, though, this week. Appreciate you watching us, as always, on FS1, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Remember to rate, review, subscribe. Appreciate you, as always, for tuning in. For Sammy, for Jeff, I'm Bear. Less you bet, more you lose when you win.